Hello everyone, this is the teaser video for this coming Sunday, June 29th, which is also the Sunday prior to July 4th, with July 4th coming up on Friday. So this is kind of my July 4th Independence Day sermon. I always like to do a holiday sermon before the actual holiday arrives. So when you think of July 4th, we think of freedom, we think of independence, what our country did to become free, against British rule. But when we think of freedom, first of all, I guess what do you think freedom means? And if we live in a society that's conformed by laws and rules, which means there are things we shouldn't or can't do or will be punished if we do, is that true freedom? I guess, our jails are full of people who did things that conformed against the rules, and I guess they would say their freedom was taken away. So do we truly have freedom? So when you think of freedom, we think of freedom with choices. You can make good choices, bad choices. But what do you think of when you think of freedom, when you think of Independence Day? Then I'm going to be preaching on 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 15 through 18. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 15 through 18. Now, this one's going to require some work for you. As you read this passage, why do you think I chose this for Independence Day, for freedom? You'll be reading about Moses. You'll be reading about a veil. You'll be reading about the Spirit. You'll read about the Lord. Why would I pick this passage for Independence Day and freedom? And what do you get out of this passage? What do you think is trying to be said here to the Israelites? It's in 2 Corinthians, so it's to the church in Corinth. And what is the true freedom being expressed in this passage? So we can think of a lot of different things, and we think it's talking about when Moses is read. So, I guess first you got to figure out what Moses being read means. Then it talks about a veil. Then it talks about if you're reading Moses, your heart is covered with a veil. And what does that mean? What all is being talked about in this passage, and how does that have to do with freedom? Or our freedom as we think of today's society in 2025. Choices, decisions we need to make, or what we need to choose. The sermon might be pretty quick. I tend not to make holiday sermons go too long. I know people, it's a long, you got a long weekend coming up that following weekend. And so as you think about it, dig into this 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 15 to 18. Just come in, especially my Sunday school class. Just bring your thoughts in, what you got out of it, and how does that apply? I guess that's really the challenge anytime you look in Scripture. What did it mean to the people of the time? And how does it apply to us? We have a heat wave this week, so please be careful, take care, hydrate, stay cool, and be safe.